Hi there, welcome to live stream Yoga with Louise, tips and cues to keep you safe and strong on the mat. Today's yoga class is all about opening up the body and the mind, revealing and owning the inner you. As always, play where you're comfortable, modify where you need to and feel comfortable to either pause the stream or to perhaps ease your way into child pose should you need to take 5 at any time. You ready? Let's hit the mat. We're going to set up for today's class coming into a high kneeling frame facing the top end of the mat. You can either tuck your toes under or relax the feet behind you, but make sure that your feet are stacking behind your knees. If you've got particularly sensitive knees, perhaps place a hand towel underneath the knees or roll up your yoga mat double for some additional support underneath the knees. You're going to just find a sense of tallness from your kneeling position. Think of softly squeezing the energy between the inner thighs together. Start lengthening out through the trunk so that you start feeling a little bit of a tug in the lower belly area. Think of slightly tucking the tailbone under, pulling the belly button in, engaging those abdominals. Keep that tall stack of your shoulders, your hips, and your knees in one long line and begin tracing a big circular pattern through the arms. Inhaling for half of your circle, exhaling for the other as you keep that sense of tallness in the body. Then change it up and trace your circle in the opposite direction. Just reaching along through your finger points. Then loosely tuck the hands behind your head. Just a loose little grip behind your head with your elbows nice and wide in a surrender-like position. Take a big breath in. On an exhale, think of softly drawing the two elbow points together. You can either physically tap them, or if your elbows don't reach towards each other, just gently try to bring them as close together along the midline as you can. Almost thinking of hugging your face with your arms on the exhale and then gently opening up on the inhale. Keep that sense of tallness in the trunk. Then end with the elbows nice and wide. Take a big breath in and on an audible exhale, dip just off the center line, making one elbow point heavy to the mat. Inhale to come back. Exhale to drop to the other side. Maybe inhaling for a count of 5 or 6, and then exhaling and dropping down for a count of 5 or 6. Use your breath. From here, find your way into a 4-point kneeling frame on the mat. Then think of finding that half a surrender position on the left. So tucking the left arm behind your back, starting with your elbow point more or less in a tabletop line. Exhale to make your elbow point heavy to the floor. Inhale to draw back up to table. Exhale to drop down. Give me a nice long inhale as you open up and a nice long exhale as you make that elbow point heavy. Keep your tabletop position, so keep pushing the mat away with your stabilizing arm. Keep belly to spine. Then the next time you inhale and you draw the elbow up, open up the arm and get ready for thread the needle. On an audible exhale, tuck underneath your armpit, resting on the left side of your face, and gently open up the right arm to the ceiling, maybe reaching past your opposite hip with your hand, maybe anchoring behind or rather next to the hip and reaching long through your finger points. Keep your hips softly stacked over your knees so that you're not leaning all of the weight into the mat, but rather drawing up from the navel and trying to hold the majority of your body weight in the core. Then retrace your path back to 4-point kneeling. Find your way into your high kneeling frame. Look for that stack, shoulders, hips, knees, and start tracing that big circular trace through the arms. Big sweeping motions, inhaling for half of your circle, exhaling for the other half. Maybe giving me a soft, audible breath pattern, tracing a few circular releases in one direction and then changing it up and moving in the opposite direction. Reaching long through your fingers. Then keeping that nice tall nail, tuck your hands softly behind the head. Big breath in, opening up the chest to capacity. On the inhale, on the exhale, softly draw the elbow points together along the midline of the body. Tapping if you can, or just bringing them as close together as you can if tapping is not an option for you. Keep that sense of softly squeezing through the inner thighs and pulling up from the navel, rather from the pubic bone towards your navel. Then end with the elbow points nice and wide. Take a big breath in. On an audible exhale, drop the right elbow point heavy to the mat. Inhale to bring it back. Try to stretch as much as you can through the left side of your ribs as you make the right elbow point heavy to the floor. Sync your movement to your breath pattern. Then find your way from here back into 4-point kneeling. Keep that sense of tallness or awareness from the mat as you tuck the right hand behind your head. On an exhale, make the elbow point heavy to the floor, and then inhale to open up to the side of the room. Keep pushing the mat away so you're looking for a long spine and you're keeping your belly button gently pulled in to center. Last one. You're going to use that opening up to open up your right arm to the ceiling. On an audible exhale, thread underneath your left armpit, coming to rest on the side of your face. Opening up the left arm, either staying fingertips reaching for the ceiling or reaching back, rotating through the palm and reaching past your opposite hip. Take a few gentle breaths here. Keep your hips stacked over your knees. Inhale to float your way back to 4-point kneeling. We're going to work puppy pose from here. You're going to gently relax your forearms down to the mat. Reach them as far as you can, trying to keep that high stack of your hips and your knees while making your chin and your chest heavy to the floor. Looking off the front of the mat so that you're getting an awesome stretch into the shoulders. From here, you're going to bleed your way down into Sphinx. Maybe keeping your feet on the mat, or if you like, you can peel the toes off the mat and point them up to the ceiling. As you drop down into the forearms, make sure that your forearms are stacking underneath your elbows, underneath your armpits, elbows underneath armpits, reaching long through those toes. Maybe curving up slightly to peek up to the ceiling. And then relax your feet down and start extending the arms out on the mat in front of you, bringing your chest and your forehead down to the mat and taking 2 or 3 deep recovery breaths. Then keeping the arms long and lengthened, we're going to come into a modified Cobra. Pretend you've got a little marble underneath your nose. Begin rolling the marble away from you towards the front of the mat and start gently articulating up through the ribs and the spine. Stop at a baby cobra line just before your bottom rib disengages from the mat and reach as long as you can through the hands, almost pushing off your fingertips and giving yourself a little bit of height off the mat. Then keep the right arm grounded and float the left arm up so that it's more or less in line with your shoulders. Take a big breath in, reaching long through your fingertips and float the arm or swim the arm behind you, tracking that movement and then bringing it back. Let's do that twice more. Big breath in. Then reach behind you, bend your left leg, take your right hand, make a little L frame between the index finger and the thumb, hook it over the top of your foot and push down on the toes, trying to relax your heel to your bum. Your elbows looking up to the ceiling. You can either keep your stabilizing arm extended, or you can give me a slight bend, like a slight quick kickstand, and push off your forearm to brace yourself on the mat. Make sure that you're relaxing that left leg, so don't tense the quad, the glute, or the hamstring. Hold. And then maybe from here, bring it into a bow frame, relaxing the foot into your hand, arcing slightly through the spine, maybe pushing off your anchoring arm, giving yourself more of a chest lift, and at the same time trying to execute a little bit more leg lift on the left. And then roll over onto your side and bring it into a modified tiger, trying to kick that foot into your hand as you push gently off your stabilizing arm, or you can bring your body line closer to the mat if you prefer. Ease your way softly back onto the belly. Slide your hands back slightly so that your fingertips are just in front of your shoulder line. Drop your feet and your forehead to the mat. Keep your elbows tucked into center. Start peeling off the mat with your nose. Roll that marble away, either stopping in baby cobra and just looking for a drop down through the elbow points and a lengthening through your neck, or keep extending through the arms, perhaps coming into a full cobra. Look for length. Then maybe try to tuck your toes under and come into an up dog, giving me a nice bow shape in the back, keeping those toes tucked under for your up dog today. And then morphing from here into a down dog, floating your bum up towards the ceiling, maybe giving me a nice tiptoe down dog. And then dropping down, maybe giving yourself a slow pedal, keeping those knees tracking forward, starting to open up the back chain of the legs. Maybe holding that little down dog frame. Find your way from your down dog stretch into child pose, relaxing the knees, the shins and the feet to the floor, either keeping your legs in parallel or floating the big toes together, opening up the knees a little wider and pushing your bum back towards your heels. If you need to relax the shoulders, just think of softening through your elbow points, your forearms and your hands, and just giving yourself 2 or 3 recovery breaths. Remember that child pose balasana is your rest or recovery pose at any time should you need it. Then think of finding your way from here back into 4-point kneeling. You're going to find puppy pose. So you're going to think of making your bum bones track up towards the ceiling as you slide the arms on the mat in front of you. So you're trying to allow the top of your thighs to remain quite close to your lower belly as you drop your chin and your chest to the floor and look off the front of the mat, stretching into the shoulders. Then think of bending through the forearms, keeping your feet on the mat or floating them off as you find your way into Sphinx. Push off your elbow points, look for that sense of length. Start thinking more of a bow shape through the back. So maybe gently peeking up to the ceiling if you can and stretching that little turkey waddle underneath your chin. Then relax the feet to the mat. Start extending the arms out on the mat in front of you and just drop your forehead to the mat. Take 1 or 2 deep recovery breaths here. Then think of coming into a modified cobra from here. Find that little imaginary marble underneath your nose. Start rolling it away from you to the top end of the mat. Find your baby cobra line, stopping with your bottom ribs still connected, and push off the tips of your fingers. Hold the line and see if you can float the right arm up so that it's more or less in line with your shoulders. Maybe on a big inhale, sweep the arm behind you, tracking the movement. And on an exhale, bring it back. Do that twice more. Trying to keep the cobra line, so trying not to drop down. Try to keep that length, that height. Then the next time you draw back, take your middle index finger and thumb, bend your left leg, see if you can hook that L frame around the top of your toes and push down. Either push off your stabilizing arm, keeping it extended, or you can maybe make a little bend in the elbow, make more of a kickstand and bring the arm into parallel. Find your half a frog, gently pushing down, trying to tap your heel to your bum. And then relax that hold on your front of the foot, kick the foot into your hand and find bow, almost floating your toes up to the ceiling, giving me more of a chest and a simultaneous leg lift on the right. Hold here, staying on your belly, or roll over onto your side, and you can slide the arm out and give yourself as much of a prop as you need to, maybe bringing it slightly off center even if you need to. Rolling slightly onto the side of your body and finding a side tiger stretch. And then gently bleed your way back onto the belly. Give me more bend in the elbows. Think of framing your rib cage with your elbow points and bringing your fingertips just in front of your shoulder line. Relax your forehead, relax your feet to the mat. Take a couple of generous breaths here. And then get ready for Cobra. Start rolling that marble away with your nose. Peel up, either stopping in baby Cobra with your bottom ribs still connected, just making your elbow points and your shoulders heavy to the mat. Or begin extending through the arms, coming into full extension. And then if that feels good, morph into an up dog. Let's tuck the toes under today. Push off your hands, giving me that bow shape, but not collapsing through the shoulders, not collapsing through the chest. Morph into your down dog. Take it into a tiptoe position. And then when you're ready, maybe take it for a gentle pedal, but keep those knees tracking forward today as you take your dog for a walk. Then try to hold the stretch, your down dog stretch, trying to anchor through the heels as best you can. So just make a little bit of weight into those heels a reality. Maybe think of feeding your nose through and trying to tap your nose to your knees. And then when you're ready, bleed your way into child pose, either keeping the feet soft and relaxed in parallel, or maybe big toes together, knees slightly wider, and finding a comfortable pushback. Just take a couple of breaths here. If you're feeling tension in the shoulders and you need to release it, think of softening through your elbow points, your forearms, and your palms so that there's no tension at all in your hands. Chill here for a bit. And then ease your way from here back into 4-point kneeling. Make sure that your hands are stacking underneath your shoulders, knees underneath your hips. Tuck your toes under. Find your way from here into a 3-legged dog. Pike your bum up to the ceiling, first finding your down dog frame, and then think of what's happening in the shoulder girdle and the pelvic girdle. Keep even through the shoulders and the hips as you float the right leg behind you, giving me an active brace into your foot. Try not to pop and rotate through either the shoulders or the hips. Try to anchor as best you can through the whole left foot if at all possible. Then swing through, think knee to nose, and if your foot gets stuck on the mat, just corral it with your hand, step it forward so that you've got knee over ankle on the lead leg. Relax the back leg to the floor, either toes tucked under or foot softly draped to the mat. Peel up into a little crescent lunge. So you've got knee over ankle. Place one hand on the top of your thigh, not on the knee joint itself, just behind. Push that thigh away and then stack the other arm on top, looking for a sense of length through the spine at the same time getting an awesome stretch into the whole hip flexor area on that back leg. Then maybe coming into a gentle twist, so tucking the left fingertips to the outside of the right knee. And just bringing yourself into a gentle twist, maybe reaching opposite hand to hip bone at the back. Give yourself a couple of breaths here. And if you feel good here and you feel nice and stable, you can see if you can float the back foot off. Reach back, creep your hand until it binds around the foot and come into a gentle bind. Maybe trying to replicate what you did with frog earlier on and think of softly tapping your heel to your bum. If reaching for that back leg is not an option for you, just keep the legs softly relaxed on the mat and reach for a soft little twist. So opposite hand to knee in the front and opposite hand to hip on the back. Play where you're comfortable. Find the twist that works for you. Then softly untwist and see if you can fist the hands behind you, bringing your two elbow points together. We're going to come into a little hamstring stretch. You're going to start bumping your hips back. Behind your back knee line, extend the front leg. Maybe start by keeping the whole foot connected to the mat. And if your balance is off, just keep fingertips on the mat to help you. Extend through the toes. Try to keep all 5 toes connected to the mat. And then when you can't possibly stretch any further, keep hollowing out your belly, but reach your toes towards the ceiling, almost pushing off the heel of your front leg as you find Ardha Hanumanasana. Give me a few breaths here, trying to breathe as deeply as you can into the back of your ribs. And then we're going to come into half a camel line, and you're going to try to keep the hands bound behind you. So a little bit of balance required. If you need to, take the hands, loosen them and place them maybe gently on your hips or on the floor to help with your balance. Step the right foot out to the side of the room, front view, so it's more or less in line with your left knee. Keep dropping down, side view, making an almost hollow frame through your back and gently peeking up to the ceiling. Take a couple of deep breaths here. Then gently think of unbinding. Tuck your toes under or keep your feet relaxed. And just take a little camel lean off the center line and float the arms out in front, more or less in line with your shoulders, and hold for a count of 10 if you can. So you're getting a nice stretch into the top of your thighs and into the lower belly area. Ease your way from here back into either 4-point kneeling or take a quick chill in child if you need to. Find a tabletop line. Look for that sense of length through the spine. Keep your belly button softly pulled into center. You're going to ease your way into down dog and then transfer into that 3-legged dog. So find your down dog frame first. Try to give me a little stretch here for a wee bit. So think nice extended arm line, nice extended leg line. Try to anchor through your heels as best you can. Maybe feed your nose through and look towards your knees. Then get a sense of that evenness through your hips and your shoulders. Try to keep that sense of evenness as you float the left leg behind you and hold your 3-legged dog. Try to anchor through the whole right foot today. So you're getting a really awesome stretch on the back chain of your right leg. We're going to find our Crescent Lunge stretch from here. So you're going to think knee to nose, swing through to the inside of the left hand. Do a manual adjustment if you need to. Relax the back knee. Keep the toes tucked under, or relax the foot as you come up with your body and find your way into that Crescent Lunge. Stacking one hand on top of the other, pushing off your thigh, looking for that sense of length through the spine. Start shooting for that nice little stretch out of the hip bone on the back leg. If you feel good here, we're going to bring it into that little twist. So you're going to think right hand to the outside of the left leg, almost hugging the leg into center, and then reaching back with your left hand for the opposite hip. If this feels good and the balance is there, you can float the back toes up off the mat. Don't look for it, just feel for your foot, and then maybe start softly drawing the foot in, trying to tap your heel to your bum. And if that's not happening, just keep the twist. Opposite hand to leg in the front, opposite hand to hip behind. Play where you're comfortable. Take a couple of deep breaths here, whether you're in the soft twist or whether you've elected to come into and stay in the bind. We're going to find our way from here into our little hamstring stretch. So start untwisting your torso. Float the hands behind you. Think Titanic. Then interlace the fingers. Start bringing the two palms together and almost reach through your knuckles as if you were trying to tap the wall behind you. Then trying to keep a sense of balance by squeezing the energy between the inner thighs together and drawing up really strongly from the pelvic floor. Start bumping the weight of your hips back behind your back knee. Extend the front leg, trying to keep all 5 toes on the mat first as you almost hollow out your belly. When you can't possibly reach through your toes anymore, start disconnecting them from the mat and allow the toes to peel up towards the ceiling, almost pushing off your heel, trying to keep your sense of balance. If you need to, use the fingertips on the floor if you find that keeping the bind behind you is too much for you. Take a couple of breaths here before finding your way into your half camel line, if at all possible, keeping that sense of balance and control by keeping the hands bound behind you as you come into a high kneeling frame and step the left leg out to the side of the room so that it's more or less heel in line with your right knee. Maybe dropping your fist down towards your bum and giving me more arc through the spine as you gently peek up to the ceiling. Take a few deep breaths here. Then release the hands. Come into a high kneel, feet relaxed or toes tucked under so that you're stretching into the arches of your feet. Start with the arms on the top of your thighs. Take a big breath in. On an exhale, float off the center line and try to hold for a soft count of 10. Shooting for a long line through your thighs and the lower belly. Then drop softly back into 4-point kneeling. You can either hop, step, or walk to the front of the mat. So just see how your body feels. Maybe thinking of gently coming into a relaxed dog. So ease your way onto the tips of your fingers. Push off your fingers. Hover your knees off the floor. Either hop up or maybe just gently creep your feet up and come into a loose forward fold. If you're really tight, just give me a soft bend in and extend through the legs. Then see if you can fist the hands behind you, making your crown nice and heavy to the floor. Maybe gently sway the weight back and forth between the balls and the heels of your feet. Come to stillness somewhere between the two, allowing for that slow inversion of the blood in your head. We're going to come into a bound back bend from here. Soften through your knees and ragdoll style, bringing your head up last. Just peel up really slowly so that you just give your blood pressure a chance to stabilize as you're coming up. Just bring it into a gentle back bend, making your knuckles heavy to the floor as you arc slightly through the spine and bump your hips forward. Then unbind the hands, restack and realign your body. Think shoulders, hips, knees, ankles in one long line. And then just give me a soft helicopter spin, but keep it really soft. Maybe even just tapping opposite hip bone as you bend through the back leg so that there's no torque on the knees. Just flop the arms. Let's keep them soft and floppy today. Come to stillness facing the front of your mat. You might need a strap for the next series, and if you need to, you can even bring yourself against the wall or a piece of furniture and just stabilize with one hand on the furniture if you need to. We're going to find hand to big toe. Let's play on the right side of the body first. So you're going to think knee to nose on the right, preferably taking your middle index finger and thumb and making a little crab pincer to hold around your big toe on the right, or you could loop a strap around your foot, and you're going to extend that leg out in front, finding an A-line stretch. Supported hand is either long and relaxed at your side, or maybe you're bracing on the hip bone, or maybe you're extending the arm out into a T-frame to either place your fingertips on a wall or a piece of furniture. Just hold that A-line stretch, maybe for 10 seconds. You're going to morph from here into dancer. So bend that lead leg, brush your hand down, reach for the foot, float the left arm overhead so that it's alongside your ear. Squeeze the two knees softly together, and then begin hinging forward in a tabletop position. And if you'd like, you can even bring your lead hand into a mudra, maybe bringing it into active gyun, with the index finger and the thumb coming together. Peel back towards the midline. If you need to, drop down to the floor and give your legs a little shake out. You're going to think knee to nose again, but this time you're going to grab opposite hand to foot, so left hand to right foot, maybe wrapping around the outer quadrant of your foot, extending the leg out in front, and you can hold on to that leg with a strap if you like, and you're going to open up the right arm behind you, coming into a beautiful little arrow stretch. Step both feet alongside each other, coming into a little tabletop stretch and floating the arms out in front, trying to forge a long line through the length of your arms, your neck, your back, and your hips. Then soften through the knees, sweep the arms behind you. Find that fisted line, make your crown heavy to the floor. Almost think of working your knuckle points towards the ceiling, and if you need to, you can bend and extend your legs dynamically if holding the bound forward fold is too much for you. Allow for a little mini inversion of that blood, and then when you're ready, ragdoll style, peel up. Make sure you bring your head up last. Keep the knees soft. Think of restacking and realigning your body. Once you've restacked it, make your knuckles heavy to the floor, almost thinking of drawing the two shoulder blades and the elbows closer together, bumping the hips forward and holding your modified back bend. Unbind the hands and restack and realign your whole body. Then give me that soft little off-centered twist. Maybe tapping opposite hand to hip bone or bum. As you play with a half a helicopter twist, keep a sense of length through the spine and the lower belly. Then come to stillness. Find yourself first. If you're slightly dizzy, just keep your eye trained on the focal point on the wall in front of you. We're coming into hand to big toe A. So you're going to think knee to nose on the left, taking your middle index finger and thumb like a little crab pincer, or maybe just looping a strap, a hand towel, or a belt around your foot. You're going to find your A-line stretch, trying to hold for at least 10 seconds if you can. Looking for a sense of length, so on the supportive side of your body, think of stacking your shoulders, your hips, your knees, and your ankle. When you're ready, you're going to think of morphing from here into dancer. Bend your lead leg, brush your hand down, reach for the foot, drop the left knee heavy to the floor, and then think of squeezing the two knees towards each other. Float the right arm overhead so that it's framing your ear. As you hinge forward, kick the foot into your backhand, maybe finding a mudra on your lead hand, or maybe just keeping your fingertips long and lengthened if this is your first time in dancer, Sukhasana. And if the balance is off, let's say you catch a speed wobble, don't worry about it. Just find your way back, even coming against the wall and just keeping your hands on the wall. And if you are working on the wall when you come into dancer, maybe just slide your hand forward so that you're just using the back of your hand, the pinky side of your hand, to just softly push against the wall, still trying to use that sense of pulling up along the inner thighs to find your balance on the mat. From dancer, you're going to come back into the standing frame, maybe giving the feet a quick shake out if you need it. We're going to find our way into arrow from here. So you're going to think knee to nose again on the left, reaching opposite hand to foot, extending that leg out in front, and maybe reaching back with the other hand to maybe peek to the wall behind you if your balance is there. Ease your way softly back. Find a soft little tabletop fold, floating the arms out in front, looking for that sense of length through the arms, the neck, the back, and the leg. And from here, we're going to find our way into a supine position, lying on the back. And you can either just come down gently onto the back, or you can find a haunch position from here. Make sure you've got enough room to roll behind you. So if you're on the tall side, take a step to the front of your mat. Tuck into a tight little ball, gently rocking the body back and forth, maybe softly connecting your feet to the mat as you rock up. Or if you've got a strong sense of inner thigh and core, you can keep those feet hovering off the mat, round out, rocking back as far as your shoulder blades and back up. Then in softly lying on the back, we're going to come into a bridge line from here. Feet and knees about hip width distance apart, arms are soft and relaxed at your side. Don't have the feet too far away from the body. Scooch your feet in a little bit closer to your bum so that your ankles and your knees are aligned when you're at the apex of your bridge. Begin in a comfortable neutral spine position, allowing for that little S-curve of your spine. Take a big breath in, and then on the exhale, maybe think of tilting your pelvis to the 12 o'clock position. Feel your lower back begin to imprint. Keep that sense of imprint. And then focus on your tailbone. Curl the tailbone in towards your belly button as you start lifting your bum up off the mat. Keep articulating up, disconnecting from the mat, one rib, one vertebra at a time, coming up nice and high in a bridge line, either keeping the arms relaxed, palms down, or maybe you'd like to come into a fisted position, bringing the two palms together, feeding the shoulder blades even closer behind your back, piking your hips up nice and high towards the ceiling. Whether you bound the hands or whether your hands are open and relaxed to the mat, I want you to keep your feet and your knees hip width distance apart. Try not to look to the side of the room when you're in bridge. Try to keep your chin nodded softly towards your chest. When you're ready to come out of bridge, Setu Bandha, unbind the hands if they were bound. Relax the shoulder blades first and peel down really slowly. So lead with the back of your ribs. Start between your shoulder blades and make your way towards the lower back, almost hollowing out your belly as your lower back begins to imprint into the mat. And then bring your whole spine back into neutral, allowing for that S-curve. Either staying here, maybe gently just hugging the knees in towards your chest and cradle rocking up. Or you can play with that rocking motion again, rocking your body back and forth. Maybe you want to play with a soft little almost forward fold and a mini plow, drawing the knees just over your head as if you were trying to hug your knees in towards your chest. If this feels good, you can come into plow pose from here, maybe gently supporting your lower back, extending the legs, maybe just keeping the legs parallel to the mat at first. Or if you've got the range of motion, you can drop the toes to the mat. Let's keep it basic today. Support the lower back, keep the legs in parallel, and hold your mini plow. If you find that this is too much compression on the neck, you can bring yourself back into the bridge that we played with before and just try to pike your hips up nice and high, keeping that sense of evenness through the hips and the top of the thighs. So find your bridge or your plow, just gently holding. And then rock back up into the seated frame. Take a soft little forward fold, maybe bracing around your toes, or maybe just dropping your hands, your palms to maybe the mat or to the top of your thighs, and just take a couple of gentle breaths here. Then sit up nice and tall. You're going to give me one fall back to come back into a supine position. Think of floating the arms out in front, Start nodding your chin to your chest and hollowing out your belly. As your lower back touches the mat, float your feet off the mat, reach long through your fingertips. You've almost hollowed out your belly, and you're holding that scoop frame for maybe a soft count of 10, reaching through your fingertips and maybe your toes. Then relax down to the mat, dropping the arms at your side, maybe palms down, and float your feet into a soft V position. So the heels are coming together along the midline of the body and the toes are softly splayed out to the corner of your mat. Allow for a neutral spine position. Don't try to imprint your back on this one. Keep your belly button as heavy to the mat as you can. Bend your right knee, take it out to the side of the room and then draw it back. Just keep gently externally rotating through the hip, but keep your right foot softly caressing the mat, so you're not lifting the whole foot off the mat. There's always a portion of the foot that's softly connected to the mat. Trace a couple in one direction, and then change it up and draw the knee in first before you start opening to the side, so that you're now internally rotating through the hip. Then hug your right knee in towards your chest, maybe bracing softly around the knee. If you're feeling good here, maybe scooping to peel up off your shoulders and think of trying to almost draw your knee towards your nose so that you're tapping knee to nose. Then brace into your right foot and see if you can reach for the undercarriage of your right foot with both hands. Float the sole of the foot up to the ceiling as you relax your head and your shoulders to the mat, either keeping your left leg extended and maybe softly braced, or you can bend the knee of the left leg and support your lower back as you find your half a happy baby, Ardha Ananda Balasana. So either supported leg bent, or you can keep it extended. Keep that bend on the right and keep softly tugging or pulling the foot down, trying to relax your knee. As the knee comes towards your chest, allow it to softly splay around, making its way to your armpit on the right. If you can, you're going to come into a big toe hold from here. With your right hand, take your middle index finger and thumb, making a little crab pincer, reach for your right big toe and start extending the leg out. Maybe T-shaping your left hand, palm up or palm down, whichever feels the most intuitive for you. Just find a little A-line stretch here. And if you need to, just feed a strap or a hand towel or a belt around your foot, maybe holding on and finding that connection. Give yourself as much extension as you can, trying to really open up that tight kink behind the knee. Then take a big breath in when you're ready and bring it into a beeline stretch, opening up the leg to the side of the room as you look in the opposite direction. Not worrying about how close that foot is coming to the floor, but rather focusing on anchoring your whole body on the supportive side. So your left shoulder, your left bum stay connected to the mat. Give yourself a couple of breaths here. Bring yourself back to the airline. Maybe bending both legs, loose the strap. Cradle rock your lower back out. Tap your toes to the mat. Come into a little stretch, reaching along through your toes and your fingertips, the lower belly. Then relax the arms at your side. Find that soft turnout position. So heels closer together, toes softly splayed out, and begin externally rotating through the hip on the left. Keeping the left foot softly connected to the mat at all times, so not totally lifting the whole foot off the mat. Keep caressing the mat with your left foot. Give me a few openings in one direction, and then change it up and rotate in the opposite direction. Keeping that soft turnout position on your supported leg. Then think knee to nose on the left. Start drawing the knee in towards your chest, maybe binding on the shins. That feels good. Maybe scooping up, bringing your shoulders off the mat, and think of tapping your knee towards your nose. You're going to find your way from here into your half a happy baby. So start bracing through the left foot. Reach for the undercarriage of your foot. Draw the foot up to the ceiling as you relax your shoulders and your head to the mat. Keep softly tugging down on the foot. Your supportive leg is either long and lengthened. Maybe you want to brace into the foot. Maybe you'd like to bend the knee and connect the sole of the foot to the mat. Just see what works for you. Try to keep a sense of evenness through the shoulders and the hips as you come into the half a happy baby. And then start transitioning into your A-line stretch. Find your little crab pincer, reach for the big toe if you can. T-shape your supportive hand and just take a nice extended stretch here. Supportive leg either long and lengthened, or maybe you've elected to keep the bent position and support your lower back. Take at least 10 breaths here. And then when you're ready, maybe transition into the B stretch, opening up that leg to the side of the room while you look in the opposite direction. Try to keep your right shoulder and your right bum connected to the mat, so you're grounding on your supportive side. Find your way back to your A-line stretch. Pause here. Come back into your little long stretch, reaching along through your fingertips and your toes. Either electing to stay here and stretch out the body before finding your way into a seated frame, or using that little roll that we played with earlier on. So think of tucking into a tight little ball, maybe bracing softly around the shins, rocking your weight gently up and down. Maybe playing with that little forward fold, Paschimottanasana, and that slight mini plow. If your back is nice and open from here, you can play between the forward fold and your plow, maybe even tapping your toes overhead to the floor behind you if your back allows for it. Play with it, make it your own. You're going to give yourself maybe 10 little rocks, and then you're going to ease your way from here into Sukhasana, easy sit, preferably facing the front end of your mat. So just bending the legs in one at a time, bringing the heels in to your perineum. I'm going to angle my body slightly. Just find a comfortable seat, sitting up nice and tall, and bring your hands into prayer mudra in front of your heart. Then maybe think of finding your way from here into lotus mudra. So you opening up your fingertips towards the ceiling, keeping your pinkies and your thumbs touching so that your hands resemble a little lotus bloom. Position your lotus bloom in front of your heart, maybe making your elbow points nice and heavy to the floor, and just give yourself a couple of breaths here. Maybe closing your eyes and taking your focus inward. Take a nice deep inhale in, let's say anywhere between a count of 6 and 10, making almost no sound on the inhale. And then give me a soft S sound on the exhale, like steam gently escaping. Give yourself at least 6 inhalation and exhalation cycles, closing your eyes, taking your focus inward. Remember, the intention of today's class was to try to open up your body and your mind. Keep that sense of length through the spine. Make sure both of your bum bones are grounded. Make this your last active breath cycle with that little S on the exhale. And keeping your eyes closed and your focus in, bring your hands to prayer mudra in front of your heart, gently pushing into the hands, allowing the elbows to maybe softly flare out to the side of the room. We're going to end with a little thought for the day. Don't tell people who you are. Show them. Reveal and own your true inner self. Namaste to you all. Thank you so much for coming out and playing today. I really do hope that you enjoyed today's class. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed. Shoot me your comments below. Make sure your notifications are on. Be ready for Pilates on the mat tomorrow. Till then, keep it light.